Hey students, I hope you're doing well. I'm sure some of you are experiencing the Sunday scaries like I am today. I know this has been a great break. It's been a good one for me too. I spent a lot of time off the computer, which was really nice. But I really want you to really try to push forward. We are in week 5. You were over halfway done with the class, but I don't want you to take your foot off the gas now. This is the time to really dig in, take everything that you've learned and apply it. And communicate. If you're struggling with a concept, if there's something you're not understanding, and this is the time to sit down and have that conversation with either myself or Dr. Thurley. So a lot of you, when I was reading the feedback, you were struggling with several things. MLA format seems to be something that a lot of people hit on. Thesis statements seem to be something that a lot of people struggled with. And then some people talked about sources and how do you cite particular sources. What I did is I reached out to Dr. Thurley and I said, hey, I'm reading these reflections. Here are some things your students are struggling with. And he sent me an example that a student submitted, and this student did particularly well. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through this example essay, and I'm going to talk through why I believe this essay did so well as highlight some of the issues that some of you talked about in your reflections. So first, let's take a look at the MLA format. Guys, MLA format truly, it's small fry stuff, okay? It's formatting. And when we talk about why we format, the reason we format is because in an academic atmosphere, okay, whether you're here at Gaston College or you transfer to UNCC or you end up doing your PhD at Harvard one day, when we use MLA or APA format, what that is a standardized system. And that way, when any professor picks up your paper, they know how to read it. And so while it's not the bones of your essay, okay, while it's not the most important thing that you will do in your papers, it's important for you to communicate in a way that any instructor would understand. And so that's why we use formatting. Let's take a look at some of these headers. First of all, I took out the student's name and just put student example, but that should represent the first or last name. So in this top right header, you would have your last name and page number, which the student did really well. And then on this left-hand side, the only thing that I would comment on is this should actually say Dr. Christopher Thurley to distinguish between the two names. So for example, let's say John Smith is the student. This would say John Smith right here with double spacing, of course, the professor's name under it, the course name, and then the due date, the actual day that the assignment was due. This is standard, so that there's not a bunch of different dates from different days that students wrote it. Always use the date that the actual essay is due on. Another thing I want you to notice is everything is double spaced. You don't see extra spacing between the date and the title. You don't see these weird subtitles going on. And there's very clean lines and ways that everything is formatted. This is all in Times New Roman. It's not in a funky font. You don't see your headers in a different font than your paper. The title is not bolded. Everything is very clean looking. A lot of you have made the mistake of bolding titles. I've even seen that in some of the writings that you're doing in your support class. So I want to make sure that you understand this. Nothing should be bolded. Nothing should be in italics unless, of course, you're using the title of a work. Everything should be in normal font, Times New Roman, and it should be double spaced throughout the essay. And here we have a very clear title, Education in Brunei in America. What you see there is, as soon as we read that title, we know what this essay is going to be about. It doesn't say ME number 1. It doesn't say compare and contrast essay. It's a specific title that indicates what this particular essay is going to encompass. Then when we go to this first paragraph, we have an indentation. Guys, this is really important. This helps with the organization of your essay. And as a reader or an instructor, we can see where the introduction begins. We can see where the first body paragraph begins. So ensure that you are using those indentions every single time you're starting a new paragraph. So let's take a look at the introduction. America's education system is something that is constantly updating, improving, and adapting. However, Brunei, a small country located on the island of Borneo's north coast in Southeast Asia, has something America has yet to fully achieve. According to the Wikipedia page, Brunei last updated in 2022, and I'm not sure I'm saying that correct. I apologize if I'm not. The country's population of 460,345 in 2020 experiences free public education through college levels. And then what we see here is that this student used a source. And I want to walk you through this. We have the parenthetical expression, which means the parentheses that encompass the information that you're supposed to have. And then what should have been here is an author. But what this indicates to me is that there was no author. There was only a title of the work. And then right here, we see the year that it was marked. And if we go down to the works cited page, we see that very clearly. We don't see that there's an author at the beginning, and then we see the date of publication. If this was done in MLA, there should have been a page number included without that year. It simply should have been either author and page number, or it should have been title of work if there was no author and page number. So when we scroll back up here, and one thing I want to add for APA, this is completely accurate. So remember, APA should be either author. If there's no author, then title, and the title should always be in quotation marks. And then year of publication, that is APA. For MLA, it should be author. If there's no author, then title of publication and in quotation marks again, and then the page number. If there is no page number for MLA format, then you would simply just use the author or the title of the work. And it says, and then another thing, there's a period at the end of this in-text citation. So again, remember, parenthetical expression, if you're using APA, author and or title, APA, author and or title and year of publication, period at the end. For MLA, the only thing that would change here would be the page number of the work, if that is applicable. This funding was put into place in 1958 under the National Development Plans law that has allowed for more citizens of the country to go for free, except women. And again, we see that he's done this perfect in-text citation with the title in quotation marks along with the year of publication. There's an ongoing discussion about equality and the right for women to be in school. In America, there is a similar argument about equality in education when it comes to cost and funding for it rather than gender. Here's where we come into the thesis statement. And what I want you to notice before we say anything else, the thesis statement is located at the end of this introduction. Guys, think about a thesis statement this way. I tell students, this is a strange way to share it, but when someone leaves a room, or when someone leaves your home, or when someone passes away, what is the last thing you remember? It's typically the last thing that was said. And so when you think about writing an introduction, the important aspect of the introduction is the thesis. So it should be the end. It should be the impression that you're leaving on that reader. Each country has valid strengths, as America could learn from Brunei's free public education paid for by the government, okay? That's the comparison. Each country has valid strengths. And Brunei could take notes on the gender equality studies that take place in America. Implementing free education in America would allow for more students to be able to receive an education bettering their futures. In comparison, Fighting for women's equality in Brené's education system would allow them to have better jobs and a better future as well. Now, the one thing Dr. Thurley did say is that he wishes that this thesis statement would have been condensed into one, at most two sentences, and really the preference is one sentence. So some things could have been taken out of here to make this more concise. But what we see so clearly, okay, is that we see this comparison. Each country has valid strengths, but then we see very clearly the contrasting evidence of what they could learn from one another. Okay, we see that Brene has a free education system and America could take notes on that. And we see that in America, there is a greater equality for women's rights and women's access to education. This is a great placement of the thesis statement. I mean, this is an extremely strong introduction. Again, we have a hook, okay, that really takes the reader in and makes them pay attention to what's being said. We have a little bit of background that includes some research and some sound evidence that makes the reader feel that this is reliable. And then we have a super strong thesis statement that shows what the comparison is and then what the contrasting evidence is where these two countries could learn from one another. And then here we have the first, and this is the point-by-point organization method. The first topic sentence says, America has been fighting for gender equality since the country was born. Women's rights and education are still developing, but they've been established enough to give women a stable foundation for a good career and the pay with it. Okay, some of this language could be a little bit more articulate. Okay, instead of saying with it could be exchanged for a stronger word that gives more meaning. Giving women equal rights in school allows them to take a more active role in their lives, as well as be more independent in their living state and incomes. Okay, we see what America is doing well. Then what I want you to see is right here, we have the same topic, okay? We're visiting that topic. We're staying focused and on point, but we see the contrasting evidence. Brene women fight for equality in their Brene women fighting for equality in their education is not a new concept. An article about women's education in Brene from Borneo Bulletin in 2022 called Quality Education is Always on Her Mind talks about an advancement that was made when the country appointed its first female cabinet member on June 7th, 2022. And here we have the author and the year of publication. So there was an author present in this particular article. Dayton Seri Paducah, Dr. Haja Romaza Binti Haji Mod Saleh was established in the cabinet as the Minister of Education and has spoken out about the lack of education opportunities for women in her country. Again, a strong citation here where we have a writer and we have the data publication. She is just one voice amongst the many who believe giving women equal opportunities in education will give them a better chance to succeed. If the country were to model its gender education after America's, it would be something Brene women would benefit from, as they would be able to get better paying jobs to support their families and allow generations of successful women to keep coming. Free education in Brene is something that has changed the fate of young adults in the country. Okay, what we see here is the topic has shifted. We are now on to something else, and we're talking about free education, and then we know exactly which country we're talking about. Once the approval for funding was enacted by the Colonial Office in Fiji, which corresponds to the Brene government, schooling was now free and accessible for all economic classes throughout the country. And then right there we see we have a title and a year of publication because there is no author present. I do think that in this particular section, there could have been a little bit more elaboration. It's cut a little short. However, it's clear. Then we see a shift. And we're still on topic, but we've shifted to the next country in that point-by-point organization. America's economic push in education would see similar reasoning and benefits if public funding through college were to be put into place. The jobs and pay a college education provides would benefit several students as well as their living conditions. Allowing adults to move out of their own teaches them independence and gives them a chance to start their own life. A 2017, the Advocate article titled A Free College Education, a Basic American Right states that there are nearly 22 million young adults living at home. Lynch 2017. Again, we see an author and a year of publication. America's government supporting free education would not only better jobs for these people, but bring in an income to support themselves. Free education is a right in Brunei and should be a right in America as well. Again, we have this, and I showed you guys this in the previous paragraph, but what this is called a summative or a conclusive sentence. And what it does is it really wraps up this idea that was stated here at the beginning, and it brings your focus back to the original topic, which was free education. And then here we're at the conclusion, and it says, overall, America and Brunei have both education systems that support each country uniquely. However, they would benefit from learning about gender equality and economic equality from one another. The improvements can still be made as time progresses and countries adapt. Observing and learning about other countries is important to understand their culture and to see what policies can be learned from them. The situation presented here gives each country a chance to ameliorate education systems for its citizens. Education is an important part of life, and everyone should be able to have access to it despite their gender or class for a chance towards success, opportunities, and independence in life. Guys, this is such a strong ending because what it has done is it's not just simply comparing and contrasting. They're not just showing you the comparisons and the differences in these two countries. They're explaining why viewing this comparison is so important. Okay, what the conclusion, what they've drawn is that by observing these two things, we see that there are people with no access to education. I hope this example helped you understand what Dr. Thurley is looking for, and that it equips you to take a look at your essay and a look at his feedback and see what you could have done differently or what you did really well. If you have any questions about this, please do not hesitate to reach out to me, and let's continue to work hard. And again, reach out if you have any questions.